from Alshon, the same day they signed Tory. The Smith beside me, yes. My wrist shine, yes. At all times, catch all signs. Shots fly, no Anakin. Olive Garden, rap towel fit inside a ramekin. Fucking breadcrumbs, turn breadsticks when that text spit. Cause that marinara is so cute. Safety off, you ain't Joku.
Welcome to the beginning of NFL Week 10 and welcome back to the Sports Syndicate Podcast. I am your host, the man that bleeds, Kelly Green, the South Philly Psycho, Dom, and I am joined pretty much as always now by my main man, South Jersey's finest, the one and only Nick. What's happening, my guy?
Hey, man, the Cowboys got their asses handed to them, and the Eagles played a competitive game. We lost, but we played a competitive game. It can't get much better than that. So I'm doing well there, Dom.
It's sad because I almost called it. I said they were going to lose 27-24. They lost 30-27.
Yeah.
I was damn close.
30-16. Cowboys got their ass handed to them.
Oh, man, it was beautiful. Last week was crazy.
Yeah.
There were, the Broncos with the big win, and they were up 30-0 in the fourth quarter. And, there was a lot of stuff about McCarthy leaving Dak in, and they scored some points. They kind of made it look closer, but it still wasn't even that close. And then on top of it, you had the Jags. I think I had mentioned if the Jags beat the Bills, it might be the upset of the season. The Jags beat the Bills. Had the Giants beat the Raiders. You had upset after the Falcons beating the Saints after the Saints mounted.
That was a good game.
It was a great game, but the Saints mounted this crazy comeback, and then the Falcons came back after that. It was like, what is going on?
Thank God they did, because I had Rodgers in fantasy, and I had to pick up a quarterback, and I picked up Matty Ice, man. He had a day. He had he had a running touchdown or a rushing touchdown, dude. Thank the Lord.
More touchdown passes. He showed the fuck out, especially against a good defense. But it was just it was a crazy week from top to bottom. Yeah. And it was not very good for either one of us while I'm looking at the picks. You ended up with 7 points. I ended up with 4 out of the entire week.
Wow, I beat you for once.
There was that many upsets. So now the current score is I have 49 points and Nikki's got 45. And we're gonna get to our pick segment. We're gonna get to our pick segment in the near future, but first we're just gonna go over some quick headlines from the NFL, and I actually called it. We were talking about Deshaun Jackson last week, and he ended up signing with the Las Vegas Raiders this week. Yeah, they're not sure if he'll play or not, but he's in.
Yeah, they signed him.
At least he made it look like I know what I'm talking about. It made sense. They lost a deep threat to some horrible circumstances.
Yeah, idiotic.
I try not to give that as much time as possible, guys. I'm not trying to. Yeah. I'm not trying to put that out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the media hasn't either.
But it feels like a good fit for Deshaun and for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, They mostly used Henry Ruggs as a deep threat, and losing him.
You said his name.
Yeah, it might be the first time since the accident. We'll edit that too. Why not? Yeah. There's going to be some editing already in this show, and it feels like a good fit for both sides. Yeah, Jackson ends up on a contender. The Raiders get a deep threat, and if he stays healthy, they really could make a playoff push with him. So. I like the move. I definitely like the move. We also had a couple of bigger moves today. Actually, even before Odell happened more recently, but then just this morning, after finding out that Sam Bradford has some kind of broken bone in his shoulder and is going to miss like 6 weeks.
Sam Bradford, he still plays?
Sam Darnold. Sorry. These crappy quarterbacks all meld into one in my head. I apologize, but Sam Darnold is going to be missing like 4 to 6 weeks with an injured shoulder. Yeah. So Carolina went out today and re-signed a guy that they knew pretty well in Cam Newton, which is it's interesting to say the least. I'm not sure if he'll be
dumb
up to
decision.
speed and playing this week, that might end up being PJ Walker until he can get acclimated. But
yeah.
What do you think of the move where Carolina has now brought back a guy that was once league MVP on their roster?
Yeah, once. That's the key word, once. If he goes to Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick can't make him into a superstar, you're done. You're gone. Get rid of you. It's that. That's it. I mean, he's not good for business. He's not a good teammate. He's not good at anything else. He had a couple good years, once. Like I said, that's the key word, once. But now, dude, he's a wash-up. He's a never, a has-been and never will be. And he's just not best for business, and that's just my opinion. And,
No,
it is what it is.
It's fair enough. I mean, you're not that far off. I mean, I did feel for Cam a little bit because when he came into that New England team, that offense, man, you opened the cupboard, it was bare. There was not a lot in it. They had a good running game, and he was a good part of that running game. But as far as receivers and tight ends and even linemen, they were they were lacking.
What do they have now?
Well, they went out and they made a splash in free agency, bringing in Nelson Aguilar and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and a couple linemen, and they really revamped the offense. And then they re-signed him for a year. So you thought, okay, this will be Cam's year to really prove he's got something.
Yeah.
And then next year they'll roll with Mac Jones.
Yep.
Until they cut him after preseason and they went with Mac Jones.
Yep.
So I did feel for him a little bit. And as far as the Panthers go, I mean,
yeah,
you had Darnold, and they're blaming some of his poor play on this shoulder injury that he has now made worse. And
he's just not a good quarterback. No.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it was Sam Darnold. At least I'm getting his name right now. Sorry about that.
Butt fumble.
You can't really knock them for signing Cam Newton because who else is out there right now?
Colin Kaepernick.
Well, yeah, there is. But
no, he just came out with a Netflix special.
That's what I mean. It's been a minute since he played. And
he's comparing the NFL to slavery. He's not getting a job with the NFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I understand why you're doing it. I understand the struggle, and I feel for you. But at the same time, when you're doing this type of stuff and you're comparing the NFL to slavery, you are not getting hired.
No.
So you can take him right off the board. So it's like
there's not a lot. I don't think if any. I mean, there's a lot of third string quarterbacks, but if you're being,
it happened past the trade deadline. So maybe if they found out like Russell Wilson should be back for this game this week against the Packers. Had Seattle found out sooner, maybe they could have worked out a deal and sent a guy like Geno Smith there to continue his season because he had played well.
Yeah.
Maybe they could, if Carolina figured it out, they could have maybe reached out to a team like the Raiders and saw if they could get Marcus Mariota, maybe. But considering the timing of it, you got to look to the streets. And when you look in the streets, it's Cam Newton or bust.
Yeah.
And so to give him a shot in this offense, which has a fair amount of weapons on it. Yeah. I mean, they're getting Christian McCaffrey back. He played last week. He's getting healthy. They got Chuba Hubbard, who is a good-looking rookie. They've got DJ Moore. They've got Robbie Anderson. They've got a couple of guys at tight end that they pepper in.
Yeah.
They've got a solid offensive line. So if Cam can't do it this time, then we know, then you're done. Then it's time to go. But as far as it's the best thing that he could have hoped for, it's the best thing that the organization could have hoped for.
You know what, too? I know I said he's a wash-up and he's a has-been, but if you think about it, like, if you're getting released from the Patriots, like, that's hard. Just because, you're getting released from the Patriots, a dynasty.
Yeah.
But you're also getting released from, a contract, and that pisses you off. So maybe, he comes back better than ever. I don't think so, but, we'll see.
I mean, he did talk about going into the season that he had something to prove this year.
Yeah, but he says that every year.
He let. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I guess this will now show you if he is the Ben Simmons of the NFL. Like, he always comes out talking, but then he doesn't do much.
Yeah.
So now it's time to prove it, Cam. This organization is giving you a second chance. You got technically a third because the Patriots gave you a second chance. Now it's time to get out there and prove it on the field. Maybe not this week, but going forward. Yeah. And then, of course, that was a big move. An even bigger move was made right before we got on, because we're recording this on a Thursday night. So you might hear something about the Thursday game, even if it doesn't come out on a fucking Thursday.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr., who was reported to be eyeing the Chiefs, the Packers, and the Saints, ended up just maybe an hour ago signing with the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane to me, but I'm gonna hold my comments for a moment. I'm gonna kick it to Nick here, and let me know, what do you think of this move between Beckham's fit and why the Rams did what they did?
You know what? I think they want to win. It shows. Come on. Well, who did they sign a couple weeks ago? Like, they're going to win. They want to win. The other thing is, Odell needs a team like this. Needs a team where they know what they're doing. They have a winning, team. They want to win, and he needs to be on that team. Just because he was on the Giants, he was on the Browns, and they weren't winners. This is a winning team. And they have veterans. They have a lot of good veterans, and the coach. It's a good place for somebody like Odell, because we all know Odell. He's a nutcase. He's crazy. He's out of the ordinary. He's not there, but he's so good at his position, the wide receiver position. So I think it's great. What I'm trying to say is I think it's a good match. I like it. Yeah. I dig it.
I mean, from the Rams standpoint, it feels like they are, and this not just this move, not just this season. It seems like the last few seasons they are unapologetically trying to win.
Yeah.
They will trade for any and everyone. I mean, they've traded for the likes of Matthew Stafford and Von Miller and Odell Beckham this year. Yeah. Going back, they traded for Ndamukong Suh. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They've traded for anyone that they think is going to help them win and win now.
Yeah.
And it's worked to a point. And I also feel like they're looking at the Buccaneers roster and thinking like, hey, we can do that.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just keep bringing in talent. It doesn't matter. The rich get richer. Like, okay, we can be the rich too. We can get richer too. We can do that. We can do that.
And it's good for the NFL just because they're from Las Vegas, Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's good too. But from their standpoint, it's a great move. For Odell, I think it's a good. It's a good move because, regardless, I think after last year, that was kind of the death knell for the relationship between OBJ and the Browns organization, because they started out hot. They were winning games. He got hurt.
Yeah.
He got hurt. They ended up winning the division. They went to an AFC championship game without him.
Yeah.
And so they came back the following year knowing full well, like, we can win without this guy.
Yeah.
And I think that just started a rift. It's kind of like the situation with Carson Wentz. I don't want to be a homer, but I'm bringing back, he had a great year, but then when he got hurt, somebody else won a Super Bowl with that team.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that rift began. And all of a sudden it turned into a situation where we can win without this guy, or we're better off without him. Same thing with Odell Beckham and the Browns. They went to an AFC championship. They almost went to a Super Bowl without Odell Beckham. And I think that planted the seed in the franchise's head, like, we don't need this guy. And then for Odell Beckham, he looked at the writing on the wall and went, shit.
Yeah.
They think they don't need me.
Yeah.
Because regardless of whether the Giants won or lost, you knew they needed Odell Beckham Jr. Like, if he was not in the lineup, they did not stand a chance. That was not the case in Cleveland. And he just didn't feel like he was needed there. And they didn't feel like they needed him. That's a bad combination. So you bring him to a place where maybe they don't need you, but now you need them, because
and it's not
you
just
have
that,
to.
Yeah.
you have to rebuild your reputation, your career. He has not done much in Cleveland after dominating the league in New York, and part of that is the scheme and the things that they do. Part of it is Odell being injury prone and kind of a little diva, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you go to LA now, pressure's off you. You could be part of a prolific offense with a great quarterback, with a very player-friendly head coach like Sean McVay.
Yeah. Because
everybody that plays for this guy fucking loves him. Jalen Ramsey was a head case in Jacksonville. Have you heard anything about him in LA?
Nope. Just
no.
Maybe the MVP every year,
Exactly. And Ndamukong Suh was a problem on a couple of rosters until he got to the Rams.
It's winning.
And then you didn't hear anything from him. And then he went to Tampa and, so on and so forth. But from there, he calmed right down. So if this is the effect that they have on these types of talent, this is the effect you're going to have on OBJ if he's willing.
Yeah.
So from a franchise standpoint, from his standpoint, it's almost a perfect match.
Yep.
It makes that offense even more dangerous because we've already seen what Stafford is doing with guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. And, just a little Deshaun Jackson and a few other guys sprinkled in, Van Jefferson, that sort of thing. But to get a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., all of a sudden now you can't even think about double teaming Cooper Kupp. Even if it was before we double team Cooper Kupp, we see if Robert Woods could beat us. Well, now you got OBJ.
Yeah. Dangerous.
And if he beats you big.
Yep.
He's proven that, and I think he can still do that.
And another
thing
thing
opens up your offense.
Yeah, and another thing too with the Browns, the main focus has always been the quarterback, and not just the Browns. That's with every team, right? Like the quarterback is the guy. He is the leader. And once you have a disagreement with that leader, with the quarterback, you're screwed. And that's what happened with Baker and Odell. They did not agree on a lot of things, and it showed,
Also from a coaching standpoint with the Browns, like when Odell came in, they had Hugh Jackson as their head coach.
Awful coach.
And Hugh Jackson was the guy who came up with the Cincinnati offense. 3 receivers, throw 50 times a game, spread the ball around. And then he left, and Kevin Stefanski went from interim coach to full-time coach or whatever. And he's more focused on like the ground game. He came from Minnesota. They were using Dalvin Cook and whoever was behind him and throwing the ball, sporadically, getting 6-7 yards, and then going back to the ground game. And he's implemented that with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Now even with this kid Dearness Johnson, I mean, he looks like a fucking Pro Bowl running back. And last time we saw him, he was like the AAF's leading rusher. You know?
Yeah.
So it worked. It was a good move when Hugh Jackson was head coach. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was the right move for Kevin Stefanski and his offensive scheme. Now for McVay, it's a perfect fit. But for Kevin Stefanski's offense is completely different from Sean McVay's.
Yeah.
So it feels like a good spot. I was kind of thinking maybe he was leaning towards the Packers to give them that one extra weapon when Aaron Rodgers came back. But
Devontae wanted him.
I know Devontae wanted him. Yeah. That's for sure. And it goes to show you, don't believe these reports where they say, Odell Beckham wanted to be the focal point of the offense, like the guy. Because if he wanted that, he could have easily gone to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he would have been the guy.
True.
So don't always believe what you read, folks. That's all I'm saying.
The hype.
Do not believe the hype. That's for damn sure. All right, so... Oh, and then not the biggest news in the world, but the Chicago Bears had let go of Brett Perriman, who ended up going. He was with the Buccaneers a couple of years ago. He had 30 catches, 600 yards, and I think he's actually going back to the Buccaneers, which is going to be interesting.
Back. He wants to win.
He's going back to where he was successful, and
he's Antonio
Brown.
God.
Antonio Brown has had his fair share of injuries this year, so I figured they get this guy back, they plug him in. He was in Bruce Arians' offense, but he hasn't been in Bruce Arians' offense since Jameis Winston. So wait till he sees Tom Brady. So that could be an interesting move too. It just depends on how it all plays out in the wash.
Yeah, he's happy.
So from
Sorry,
there,
Devin.
yeah. Well, I mean, they never used him, so he was like a healthy scratch in many a Bears games. So I don't think Devin's going to miss him that much. But speaking of Devin and the Bears, I think that's a good segue into our next topic, which would be, we're going on 10 weeks into the season, and there's some teams that haven't started out very well, and there are probably some coaches at this point in time who find themselves on the hot seat. So we're gonna highlight a few of them and just determine whether or not you think they're safe, they're gone, whatever. And we're gonna start right there with Devin's Bears and Matt Nagy. I mean, they're sitting at 3-6 after a heartbreaking and kind of can I say controversial loss?
Yeah.
Stupid ref. Can we say that? Can we admit that? I know the NFL won't, but I think we can admit that here, and to the folks watching and listening along, I think you can admit that.
Yeah.
But 3-6 after a horrible loss. And yes, Justin Fields looks like he's getting better. Yes, it looks like the offense is getting healthy, but this is now at least the second year in a row that Matt Nagy has struggled. And with I don't know how many of quarterback under center.
Yeah.
He's got to be on the hot seat. But do we think he's gone, after this season, or do they give him another one, or do they get rid of him before the season even ends?
No, they're going to keep him. I mean, everything that's happened right now is not his fault, Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields is a rookie quarterback. He was inserted into this, into this season when he was supposed to be on the bench learning from the veterans. And, I mean, again, competitive game against the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are 5-3, and I get that. And Roethlisberger isn't who he used to be. I get that. But for the Bears to play a competitive game and lose by 3 points is really good. And I don't see it. I do not see Matt Nagy losing his job in the middle of the year, in the middle of the season, at the end of the year. I think he's going to be there for maybe one more year. Because they're competitive. Okay. I mean, every game they look like they want to win. They have what it takes. But, is it the coach? Is it the coach? I don't know. I just think he's there for one more year.
Well, I'll say with Matt Nagy, I don't think they'll get rid of him in season unless something goes horribly wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're going to give him another year. And I say that because I remember the very first episode of this show with Devin, we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I was saying, Matt Nagy has gone to the front office and said so many times, I need a quarterback that's going to fit my system. They traded up with the 49ers, and the 49ers had no business. It wanted nothing to do with Mitch Trubisky. But when they got that call, when it was, if I'm Trent Baalke, the 49ers GM, and I get that call from the Bears, and they're like, put the guy on mute. Hey, Ryan Pace thinks we want to take Mitch Trubisky. He's offering us picks.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, really. No lie. You want to talk to him? No, just take it. Okay, yeah, we want to take him. What do you give us? It felt premature. It felt kind of stupid. And I know that's more on the GM than the coach, but that was on behalf of the coach is all I'm saying. And that's what makes it, that's what makes it a little bit more, a little bit more nail in the coffin, so to speak.
Yeah, but if you look at it
there, the thing was from there, then it was, well, I need a quarterback that's going to fit my system. So they went and they got him Nick Foles. That didn't work. Then they went out and they signed Andy Dalton. That didn't work. So then they drafted Justin Fields. And that's starting to work.
Yeah, it's coming along.
When you have multiple quarterbacks, when this guy has been given the opportunity to take whoever and just turn him into that guy, and he just says, I can't. And he's expecting to spend more money, blow more draft picks, do whatever to find that guy.
Yeah.
Eventually, you not only want to find a coach, but you want to find a coach and a GM that are going to be able to find that guy.
Yeah.
And if Matt Nagy can't prove it this year, and Ryan Pace can't prove that they found it this year,
Yeah.
I don't know if either one of them keep their job going into next year.
Yeah.
Because they've been given a little leeway now. They've been given like 3 seasons at this point.
Yeah.
With this one included.
But if you look at it from the Bears standpoint, look at what the Eagles are going through. A rookie coach, a rookie quarterback. Like, that's not what you want. That's not an ideal situation to be in. So they're, in my opinion, they don't want to look for another coach. They want to focus on Justin Fields and get through that. And then if they do see some success, then they can start looking for another coach. But then again, if they have success, then they don't need to. So it's give and
they
take.
End up successful this year because like they're 3-6. There's 8 more
not
games.
This year. Yeah.
You know, if they end up having a better second half, or because Justin Fields looked like he looked like he grew on the job just in the fourth quarter of that Steelers game on Monday night.
It's similar to Hurts.
If he can continue that arc and they win some games and things look up at the end of the season, then they get another chance. If things continue to go this way and they've already poured so much time and resources into this coach and this GM, they will not be around for much longer. That's one of our problems. We still have, I went over it. We still have Howie Roseman on his 5th coach. Yeah. Eventually, you got to get somebody in there that's going to marry to the coach that's there. You got to get the right combination to build a roster and take you to that next level. And if they can't prove that they can do that, then they won't be around for very long.
Yeah.
Now, although injuries and some other things have played a part into it, you know, Seattle is sitting here at 3-6.
Yeah.
After kind of falling apart at the end of last year. I mean, they started out hot and then they kind of petered off and got eliminated from the playoffs. Russell Wilson's unhappy. We know this. Their defense.
Come to the Eagles, please.
Know this. It kind of feels like this year Pete Carroll is on the hot seat.
I hope.
And you know, even last year it felt like that, and then they went and fired their offensive coordinator and said they were going to change things. But they haven't really changed. They're still one of the bottom. They might be a worse defense this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
Their offense is almost exactly the same. They're bottom of the league in rushing, and expect Russell Wilson to work fucking miracles and cook. And he does, but sometimes it's not enough because of your defense. And it just feels like Pete Carroll is finally on the hot seat because there's nobody else to blame.
Yeah, good.
So the question becomes, like, will Pete Carroll lose his job this year?
I hope he does. I hate him.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. How do you not run the ball in the Super Bowl with Marshawn Lynch? Come on.
I'm still mad about that. I am still mad about that. He should have been
fired then and there. And I just don't like everything that he is. I don't like him as a person. I don't like him as a coach. I think he got lucky with a great defense. I think he got lucky with Russell Wilson being so damn good, and I hope he goes to the Eagles, but that's another day and another time. So
me both.
If I'm going to put all that aside, I still think he has a job. I still think he has a job. Yeah, I don't see him losing his job after one season. And then you brought it up too with the injuries. So for me, might be a hot take, but I see Pete staying for one more year at least.
I could definitely see that. This one's kind of flip a coin. Like, you know, it's a little more. It's rough because, you know, Pete Carroll has had some success there, but the last half of last season and the first half of this season have not been good. And now you have Russell Wilson upset about, you know, his role and the lack of certain things on the team, whether it be, you know, a better offensive line, which they still don't really have, or a better defense or whatever, because he's out there playing his heart out. They can't run the ball. They can't stop anyone. And he's expected to work magic every fucking week.
Yeah.
And there are only so many people that can be Patrick Mahomes. And even Mahomes is struggling being Patrick Mahomes this year. So all of which fell on Pete Carroll's watch. And if Russell Wilson ends up asking to be traded or leaving, that's going to be on Pete Carroll. And I don't know if they would decide to say, like, okay, you get another year. We're going to give you a quarterback. We're going to do whatever we can to try to help you win. And we're going to see what you do. or if they just say, you know what, you created this whole thing.
Yeah.
This whole thing, like, this is your offense, this is your team, this is your whatever, and this is on you. Get the fuck out. I'm leaning towards get the fuck out at this point.
Yeah.
Because Pete Carroll, as successful as he's been, has not been that successful the last few seasons. I mean, even last year, they rebounded from a bad season, and they looked great to start, but then they finished horribly. They got bounced from the playoffs. All this drama with Russell Wilson began, where it was more of the clean-cut version of Deshaun Watson. Can I say that without catching any heat? Because he wanted more input on the direction of the team and the personnel and the coaching staff and that kind of thing. He didn't get it, and he wanted out. But he sucked up his pride, and he went back to try to work it out, and then this happened. So I feel like, regardless of Russell Wilson leaving or anything else, Pete Carroll's going to be on the street next year.
Damn.
It's like 60. Like with Nagy, it's more of an 80-20 thing. If they continue to suck, he's gone. With Pete Carroll, it's more of a 60-40 thing. That I hope that makes sense, because it made sense in my head.
Yeah. 6 + 4 = 10. It makes sense to me.
There you go. Okay. and you know, not that there were high expectations of either one of these teams, but you look at the NFC East and you see the Washington football team and the New York Giants struggling. Does that mean that, you know, either Ron Rivera or Joe Judge are on the hot seat at this point?
Judge, absolutely. Rivera, no. He just had cancer. That's not a good thing. That's not a good. I mean, look at where the football team is now, with the name change, with everything happening in the front office.
Oh God, yeah.
There's no way you let go
of a guy that's beloved.
Rivera. That's beloved. That's really changed the football team. And that's
even beyond all
change.
The stuff that you mentioned, you know, like there was Dwayne Haskins, and not only was he a draft bust, he was a draft bust in a strip joint last year in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah,
and got into a ton of shit. So
I don't blame him.
There's a lot of but there's a lot of marks on that Washington franchise right now, from the top down. And one of the few things that you can look at as kind of a bright spot
last year, look at him,
you know, was and is Ron Rivera. You know, like it was, and to a point, it was Alex Smith last year too, coming back from that brutal injury and all that to lead them to the playoffs and help Ron and as he recovered from cancer. You know, they were a great story last year amidst all of this drama going on with the front office and Dwayne Haskins and, you know, all that. So I think Ron Rivera keeps his job.
That's what I was saying.
I'm with you with Joe Judge. I don't know if he keeps his job because
get out of here.
I feel like the Giants organization is looking at that sideline and looking at Jason Garrett and thinking, we have a more experienced head coach right there. We don't need you. We have him. And I know Garrett wasn't great, but he did have success as a head coach. And Joe Judge has not. Just never. Never. So
and he has the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
Jones, when Saquon, when he's healthy, I mean, they got a great defense. So they have the tools for success. It's just him. I mean, you even heard it this year regarding training camp. You know, what he was having, what he had them doing. It's just like, it's nonsense. That's not NFL level football. You know, get to the facility, work out. Don't do any stupid training drills. You know, do what you got to do. These are grown ass men. They know what they're doing. You know, Logan Ryan, who's a quarterback, out of my high school, Eastern High School, he's kicking ass. 2 Super Bowls, you know, with the Patriots, and it's just.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
He needs to go.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I was going to put Urban Meyer on this list, but I think after that upset against Buffalo, I think he's safe. I really do. I don't see them firing him after he just pulled the upset of the fucking season. You know, I think he's kind of won the team back after all the off-field stuff, and they got a big win last week, and the team has developed a little bit under him, so maybe they give him another year.
AEW.
Shout out to the Khan family. Thank you. But last one on the list is Mike Zimmer up in Minnesota. Because they got a big win against the Ravens, another upset last week. There were a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, I think they're 3-5, 3-5, and they feel to me, at least this year, the way the Chargers used to feel. Like, get them in a close game, they've lost.
Very close. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
And Zimmer is more of a defensive guy. The Vikings defense is, meh at best. They've struggled this season. They've done something. I think it puts him on the hot seat. The question is that seat hot enough for him to lose his damn job over all this?
Yeah. With this team, like you said, you that was a perfect example. They're similar to the Chargers, the past 4 or 5 years when they didn't have Herbert. They always had a chance. And it seems like the Vikings have always had a chance to make it to the, to the Super Bowl or make it to the next game at least. And they just don't. They just not this year. This year does not look like their year. They don't look competitive. And you could, have there's some blame on Kirk for sure. Absolutely for sure. But I think with an
organization, he's had a tremendous season too.
Yeah,
this might be one of the best years of his career, and they're 3-5.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. His track record, he's never been able to make it to the big one. With Zimmer, I think it's the best way to get rid of that part of the Vikings that they need to get rid of. They need
that stigma.
Yes, that's the exact
because
word. You have to sacrifice someone, and I think Zimmer is is that person. So
that's what I was going to say. Because look at the Chargers. I mean, Anthony Lynn, I think was the coach last year.
Yes, he was.
And they did the same thing they did year in and year out, like the Vikings are doing this year. They got into a close game and they lost, but this time they were doing it with a rookie quarterback and some new pieces. They were not in the same spot they were in when Phillip Rivers was there, but they were still doing the same things. And you could have thought, like, okay, give this guy one more year and maybe they will be where they are now. Chargers did not wait around to find out, because whether he had Phillip Rivers or Justin Herbert, the same thing happened. And I feel like it gets to a point where, a coach only can get you so far. And they saw that with Anthony Lynn. They got rid of him. They brought in Staley. And they won a close game against us last week. So, and they've won some close games this year. So sometimes it doesn't fall on the quarterback or this or that. Sometimes it's just the coach.
Yeah.
It's just that's as far as he can take you. And I feel like that's where we're at with Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
So,
you have to send a message.
I would say, like 70-30, he gone.
Dom, you have to send a message to the organization, to the fans, to the fan base, to the players. We want to win. We know what we have good players on the field, but we're not sure about Zimmer.
Right.
And I think we both agree there. I think he's gone. I think he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. And just last but not least, and then we'll jump into our picks here.
Don't say it.
What about if the Lions right now are winless?
Yeah.
If they continue to stay winless, like, do you feel it?
Absolutely.
Really?
Dude,
after one season, Dan Campbell just
if you haven't won a game, yeah, absolutely. You're gone. You need to win a game. I mean, yes, he's that role model. He's that coach that you want for a locker room. But you need to win a game. You need to win, and they just don't.
I would agree with you, but then I also feel like maybe this is more on the GM than it is on Dan Campbell.
No, Deuce Staley's going to be the new head coach next year. Put it down.
I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. I kind of want to Deuce Staley with the I want to Deuce with the Eagles, to be honest with you. Like last season, after we got rid of Doug Peterson, I thought he would have been a great head coach. and I still do. And he might end up getting a job this year. I just don't know if the Lions will move on from Dan Campbell immediately. Like, it wasn't just getting rid of Stafford. Like, you can't name one of their wide receivers. They got a couple of players on offense to go around Jared Goff, and it's not going well. Their defense has played well at times, and they've lost some heartbreaking fucking games.
Yeah.
Like lost close games by deep field goals, one set a record.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're the owner, if you're one of the Fords and you're looking at this team, you might point to the GM first because this team fights, they just don't have enough. And that's not on the head coach. Like I said, sometimes a coach can only take you so far.
Yeah.
Sometimes a coach can only take you so far because his roster isn't there.
Yeah, but if you keep him, it shows the fan base, it shows the organization that you're okay with losing. No, he gone.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely going to be interesting to watch going forward. It's kind of like we were talking about with the Jets quarterbacks and all that. Even if you're not a Jets fan, you're looking at this and thinking, "Wow, who's gonna win this? Who's gonna end up being the starter?"
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into some of these picks. Kids, the Cowboys at home taking on the Atlanta Falcons after that ugly game against the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let Nick kick this one off. Do you think the Cowboys bounce back this week against Matty Ice, or do you see another upset brewing in Cowboy Stadium?
Yeah, well, you brought it up at the beginning. The Falcons, they looked good last week, and the Cowboys, they did not look good at all. So what is that? What do you expect? You expect a competitive game because the Cowboys want to kick ass, and the Falcons want to show the South, the NFC South, that, we're a team to beat. Tom Brady's there in Tampa Bay. The Saints are looking good with, Winston, or not even with Winston. I forget his name, but the second or third.
Oh, now it's Trevor Siemian.
Siemian, yeah. So what I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. But I see the Cowboys winning, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, as good as the Falcons looked, they almost gave up that game to Trevor Siemian and the Saints. They had to roar back. Yeah. And with the Cowboys, I guess since everybody else has talked about it ad nauseum, I'm going to ask you this, and we're going to go over it real quick. Do you think Mike McCarthy should have pulled Dak Prescott when it was 30-0, or was it worth leaving him out there to make the game look a little closer than it was?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if you watched Hard Knocks, but Dak is a very competitive person. He wanted to play through the injuries. He wanted to be on the field regardless. So I don't know how much say McCarthy had in that. I feel like Dak is, the guy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you think about the Cowboys, who do you think of? Dak. Prescott. He has a lot of
Dak
say.
And Zeke are the first two that come to my mind. Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but
he has a lot of say, so I don't know. Who cares? They're the Cowboys. I hope they lose.
Well, I mean, I see your point because I didn't really think about it that way. Maybe McCarthy did try to pull him, but Dak didn't want to come out.
Yeah.
Because he is that kind of guy. I mean, real talk, in that year, in that draft, everybody was talking about, trying to get Carson Wentz. And I thought Dak Prescott was the best quarterback in that draft. And I was pissed that the Cowboys got him. And now I'm still kind of pissed that the Cowboys got him because when you look at it, he definitely was the better quarterback.
Yeah.
So I can see him, saying like, no, I'm not coming out of this game. Like I already sat last week. I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to try to bring us back. I'm going to do whatever I can for my team because he's that kind of guy. So it might not have been in McCarthy's hands. But, going back to the game, like I said, the Falcons, they played a great game last week.
They did.
Matty Ice looked good. I love Cordero Patterson. He is keeping my fantasy team alive.
Isn't that insane? He's like the hybrid player.
He really is.
It's insane. I love seeing it.
It stands to wonder, like, how come – because Cordero Patterson has been on a few teams in this league.
Yeah, Patriots.
He's been with the Bears. He's been with the Patriots. He's been with the Vikings. How come nobody else ever really utilized him the way the Falcons are? What the fuck happened there? But the point I'm trying to make is as good as they looked, they almost lost that game to the Saints and Trevor Siemian.
Very true.
I don't think they have enough to take on Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Zeke and Tony Pollard and all those guys that the Cowboys have.
I think it's going to be competitive.
It's going to be competitive, but I think.
What do you got?
I think in the end, the Cowboys probably win. I'm going to say 27-17.
Damn you! I got 2017.
20-17.
Yes, 2-0.
Okay. 2-0. I'm just making sure. I'm always write this shit down. Well, we talked a lot about Trevor Siemian and the Saints in that last bit, and ironically, Trevor Siemian and the Saints are the next on the rundown. They are going in to play a Titans team who looked damn good against the Rams and probably got OBJ a contract if we're being honest.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
I'm looking at this game and it's like, yeah, I know Siemian has been good. I still think they should be starting Taysom Hill, but that's just me. Yeah. But man, I said last week, if you can get Adrian Peterson in, he doesn't replace Derrick Henry, but it might keep the offense going. And the week before Derrick Henry got hurt, he had 28 carries for 60 some yards.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what the Titans had. They had like maybe 70 yards rushing. They had 69 yards rushing against the Rams. So what was the difference? 1 yard?
Yeah.
And they won both games. So I think Adrian Peterson probably has a bigger game this week. I think that Titans defense has come so far so fast because they were getting lit up at the beginning of the season.
Both teams.
The Saints defense has been good pretty much all year. Like they came out and stomped Aaron Rodgers into the ground like week 1. Tennessee came out and gave up 30 plus to Arizona.
Yeah.
And they seem to be getting better.
Yeah.
And so if your defense gets better, now you've got, your weapons getting, not Henry, but guys like Julio Jones getting healthy, A.J. Brown getting healthy, and you can get decent play out of Tannehill. You're already the number 1 seed in the AFC right now.
Yeah.
And you're still getting these guys back. You're still adapting to Derrick Henry being out of the lineup. Yeah. I always want to call him Chris Henry because they're both Titans. You see what I do here? I'm going to take the Titans in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say they win 30-20. Like, I just don't see Trevor Siemian beating this team.
Even though the Saints are good on the road and both
good.
Defenses look good. Yes, I know that the Saints defense has looked good all year, and, the Titans, they're looking better each and every game. But right now, week 1, we're both good defenses. But when it comes down to it, it comes down to the quarterback. It comes down to the coach. And I think the Titans take it here. I'm going to say 28-17.
28-17. Okay. And our next game on the rundown is a couple of AFC North division rivals. It stands to wonder if Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars have any magic left after last week, because they got to go to Indianapolis and they got to play the Colts. And I know, the Colts had a winning streak going. They kind of petered out with the loss to the Titans, and then they bounced back. But the Titans are on a 5-game winning streak, so that's not even that's not even the worst thing you could say. Do you think there's enough magic left in Jacksonville, or is this just all right? You had a cute week. It's a cute story. You're done.
Yeah. No, not at all. I think they're going to get their asses handed to them this.
You and me both, bro.
This week, just because the running game for the Colts looks great. Carson Wentz doesn't look mediocre. He looks like a decent quarterback. Doesn't look like a great quarterback. He doesn't look like 2017 Wentz. He looks like a decent quarterback that can take a really competitive team, a really good team with good players to the promised land. I don't know if that's the promised land is the playoffs or the championship or the Super Bowl, but I think they have what it takes just because a lot of players look really good and they're heating up at a great point. So I got the 4-5 Colts kicking ass, and I'm gonna say, I don't know. Are you picking the Colts too? I guess you are, since you said. Yeah. So let's do it. Let's do 31. No, 31 to 9.
Okay. Yeah, I would be nuts to pick the Jaguars again, but I didn't pick them last week, so maybe that's a pattern. Maybe that's like their good luck thing. Like, oh, you didn't pick us against the Bills? We beat the Bills. Ha! Don't pick us again.
Yeah, seriously.
They had a great defensive effort against Josh Allen and that Bills team, but that Bills team does not have the running game that the Indianapolis Colts have. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, even when Derrick Henry was in the league, I might have said Jonathan Taylor, like even when he was healthy, I might have said Jonathan Taylor is the best back in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
He is powerful. He is explosive. He catches passes. He makes plays. All you have to do is get the ball in his hand. And then with Carson Wentz, like I know you were talking about, the week before how he, kind of threw that pick in the end zone when the pass rush was coming. Kind of hard to knock him for that when Matthew Stafford did the exact same fucking thing the following week against the same defense.
But he threw 2.
Oh, I know. But so did Matthew Stafford in back-to-back throws.
Did he?
Yeah. First, he had the pick where he was getting sacked in the end zone. He just tossed it up. Then they got the ball back. He threw one pass, pick 6.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to judge Carson Wentz on that play, at least harshly, when Matthew Stafford did that and then some. And Matthew Stafford is having a tremendous season.
Yeah.
So you can, as I said, you can see Carson Wentz coming around. You can see him getting comfortable in the offense. You can see guys like Pittman stepping up. The running game is incredible. The defense is starting to make some plays.
Yep.
I think this Colts team has a run in them to at least get to the playoffs. I know they're 4-5 right now, but it would not surprise me if they ended up like 10-7 or 11-6.
Because they lost a lot of close games. They
lost a lot of close games. They had a lot of injuries, including Carson Wentz, and down the stretch run, they're starting to get healthier. They still got to worry about T.Y. Hilton, but they're coming together. Like the offense is clicking now. And that's scary because they were putting up 30 points before the offense started clicking.
Yeah.
And so I kind of see them as a sleeper in the AFC if they can continue this path. I'm going to say they definitely beat Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say,
come on.
I'm going to say 28-12.
12. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville finally found a kicker that can actually hit a kick on U.S. soil. So they'll get a few field goals in, but I think they'll still get beat pretty badly.
Yeah, me too.
So our next game is OBJ's former team, the Cleveland Browns, heading to Gillette Stadium to play the New England Patriots. And both teams are 5-4. Both teams are coming off pretty big wins.
Yeah.
But who do we see taking this one? Because it's tough. I like the way Mac Jones has played. The running game is very good.
Yeah.
Cleveland looked. I honestly, once OBJ was cut, I thought they were going to take a beating in Cincinnati, and it was the opposite. They didn't just beat the Bengals. They beat them down. They dropped a 40 burger on them. They dominated that team. And I don't know if they'll dominate Mac Jones and the Patriots, but
no.
I feel and yes, Nick Chubb is missing time with COVID, with the COVID thing.
Yep.
So it's tough, but I'm going to lean towards the Browns in this one. They showed me something in Cincinnati. I did not think they were that resilient. I did not think they could pull that off. They did it. So they've earned enough for at least 1 week for me to say, you know what? I'm confident enough to say they can beat New England in a close game. So I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns in this one. Who you got? You taking Cleveland or you going for
as much as I want to take the Patriots just because I love the story with Matt Jones, and I think it's really fun to watch the Patriots this year. As much as I hate the Patriots, and I know that's, mainly because of Tom Brady and the Tom Brady dynasty. But but yeah, I got the Browns here. And I think it's going to be a competitive game because Matt Jones has showed that he is the quarterback for the Patriots for 10, 15 years,
Let's be real here. Most of the Patriots' losses are close games, like the game in Tampa or whatever. Like, they haven't really been blown out by anybody.
No.
Even the loss to the Cowboys was a close game.
Yeah. So I got 27-24 Patriots. Or, excuse me, Browns.
Yeah, I'll take the Browns. I'll say 23-16.
Okay.
And we'll leave it there. And our next game, the Buffalo Bills are looking to bounce back as they head into the Meadowlands to play the New York Jets.
What a perfect game for the Bills,
At least you'd think. I mean, people were talking about that Jacksonville game that the Bills were looking past them. I'm like, you're looking to the New York Jets? Really? They're not very good either. So I kind of, it's hard to consider this game like you're looking ahead or it's a trap when your following game is against the Jets. If they had a big matchup the following week, I could understand, but the Jets?
Yeah. I still think the Bills look like a good team. Yes, they had a few hiccups, but to go into MetLife and lose, it's not something I can see the Bills do just because they have such a good organization. And again, it goes back to the young coach, the young quarterback, the example they're setting for each player on the field. And as much as the Jets look good and as much as I'm rooting for Douglas, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And I know it's any given Sunday, hint the title that
obviously last week was Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It was a perfect example.
And any team, 32 teams, any team is competitive. I get that. I understand that. But there's no way the Jets win. And if they do, then I'll come back next week in a dress. I don't know.
He'll apologize.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's interesting because Mike White is healthy and he will be starting. And this is the Bills' defense, because their offense laid an egg, but their defense is very good. I mean, they held the Jags to 9 points. They've been one of the top 5 defenses in the league the entire way. The Bills team is very hard to figure out because they will go from trouncing Kansas City and Arrowhead to losing a close game to Tennessee or getting in a tight game with the Steelers and giving it back basically. They lost, but they gave them the game to going and losing to the Jags by a field goal.
Yeah.
And I love how big a deal everybody made out of Josh Allen, the linebacker of the Jags, getting after Josh Allen, the quarterback. Because that no player that's been named the same has had a sack, an interception, and a fumble and a forced fumble on a player with the same name.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool story, bro. Can we move on?
Yeah.
but Bills moving on, taking on the Jets. Yes, they have been better. Maybe that's because there's no Zach Wilson. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but they have played better. But as good as the Bills defense is, the Jets defense, not so good.
No. Not
so good at all. And I don't think they have enough to keep up with Buffalo.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to take the Bills as well, and I'll give them a few points. I don't know if it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say Bills win, let's say 35-20.
Okay. I got 26-7.
Wow.
Let's give them at least a touchdown.
Give them at least a touchdown. Yeah, I think Mike White plays well, but just not well enough.
Exactly.
And then from there we have, this is actually, believe it or not, it's a playoff rematch from last year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going into Washington to play the football team.
Yeah.
This was the game where everybody discovered Taylor Heineke last year in the playoffs because Alex Smith could not play.
Yep.
And obviously things are different this year. I mean, the Bucs are 6-2. The football team is 2-6. Washington is still allowing over 31 points a game and at least 290 pass yards per game, which is the most in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which is completely shocking when you look at, because when you go back to that playoff team, that's what they were built on their defense.
Yeah.
It's what made Taylor Heineke so serviceable was their defense was making plays. They're not. Yeah. They're in a bad way. Do you see any possibility that the football team can pull off a win at home against Tampa?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I don't either. So we're both taking the Bucks. I'll let you do the score first on this one.
Yeah, I got 27-16. I think they're going to be competitive in like the first quarter just because that's how Tom Brady plays the game. He gets into the zone, he sees the players, he understands what's happening, and then he becomes Tom Brady. So competitive first quarter, but then
Okay. I got, I think the game might be close early, and a lot of these early games, a lot of these games with the Bucks, it stays close for maybe a quarter or two, and then all of a sudden, especially with the bad teams, the Bucks pull away and throw up a huge number, and I think that's the way this is going to go. I think the Bucks beat them, and I think they win like 41-20.
Holy shit!
Like I think they pretty much blow the doors off the football team, and try to continue their way to climb now that. Green Bay has lost another game. They can get back to that top spot and have home field advantage. So this is just one, not even bump in the road for them. They roll right over Washington and continue to work their way back towards the top. The team that is not at the top of the league right now is the Detroit Lions, as we already said. And they don't get much, they don't get a very easy game this week. They're going into Heinz Field to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on a short week. It might help, but after everything that the Bears and Justin Fields did right to lose that game, I don't see the Lions being able to do it. I just don't. I'm taking the Steelers in this, and I don't even see it being that close, to be honest.
No.
I'm looking at like 31-6.
Yeah, I got 24-3.
24-3.
I just don't even know if they can score. I mean, the team does not look like they know what they're doing. And the Steelers, they're banged up, but they got a great rookie running back who may be the MVP or the rookie of the year. Roethlisberger still has a little bit left in the tank, and they got wide receivers out of the wahoo. I mean, most of them are injured. I think Claypool, he didn't practice this week.
Yeah, he's a little banged up after Monday's game.
Yeah. And
but even without him, they were still able to generate a nice
Johnson's so good,
passing attack. I mean, even my man Freiermuth from Penn State has caught 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Like, we are, baby.
Yep. And they have a good offensive line. They have a pretty good defensive line. I mean,
they have a great defensive line.
I think they are a good team. I mean, I think they're going to compete for the playoffs. I think it's just, you can't.
Even at this point, history is against the Lions, because since the Super Bowl era, Pittsburgh is 13-2 versus the Detroit Lions all time.
Yep.
And those 2 wins the Lions got, they have much better teams than they do right now. So
absolutely.
I don't see much happening from there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lions fans. I'm not picking on you. It's just, it's not going to be a good year. It hasn't been, and it ain't going to be. It's just that. Now, the next game is relatively interesting because I'm just wondering who's starting a quarterback for both sides. You got the Carolina Panthers traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And I know they said there were reports earlier today that Kyler Murray is a game-time decision, but he's looked much better. The Panthers just signed Cam Newton, and I'm sure they got a couple of practices left, but are they able to get him ready and acclimated to the offense fast enough to go on the road and play a team like the Cardinals? Or are they going to say, well, we'll just put P.J. Walker in this week, and then we'll roll from there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A lot of teams, I know when it comes to a competitive football team, it's all about the quarterback. But with this team, they are so good on almost every position, if you think about it, from running back to wide receiver to defense to offense. I mean, they just look great. I don't think they're unstoppable right now.
The Cardinals had so many injuries in that 49er game, and it looked like they didn't even miss a beat. I mean, guys that I'd never heard of, like Eno Benjamin, were running over guys and taking it 20 yards for a touchdown. James Conner had a monster night. Even Colt McCoy looked great. I didn't even know he was still playing. I think I mentioned on last week's show, I don't know who Kyler Murray's backup even is.
Yeah.
And then when it was Colt McCoy, I was like, he's still in the league? Like,
that's crazy.
I had no clue. But he looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even if I was going on their current backups, even if this was a matchup where you said, okay, Colt McCoy is going up against PJ Walker, and then, they should be getting Hopkins back this week. AJ Green has come off the COVID list, so there's that. The Cardinals will be healthier. I think they're going to be without Chase Edmonds for a few weeks due to a high ankle sprain. And they might get Kyler back. But if it was a battle of the backups, I'm taking Arizona. Even if it's Cam versus Kyler, I'm taking Arizona. I'm sorry. It's
just overall
against the Panthers,
a better team.
But like the Panthers, they have a good defense. I feel like they're one or two players away from being a very good team. But the Cardinals, they look deep now, which is scary.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely taking the Cardinals in this game. I think you are too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go first. What do you got for a score in this one?
I got 24-14 Cardinals.
24-14. Okay. I'll say Cardinals win 27-17. Fuck it. and that brings us into our next game, which is two teams we talked about when we were talking about hot seats, and that's the Minnesota Vikings going into LA to play Justin Herbert and the Chargers. And Herbert had struggled for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Boy, did he turn that around against the Eagles. Jesus Christ. Man was like 32 out of 36 or 38 or something ridiculous like that with 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown. He looked amazing, and it wasn't even that the defense played that bad. He just looked that good.
Yeah. Yeah. He was struggling for a little. Then he went to Philadelphia, and now he's back to prime time form.
Yeah, he definitely looked amazing. And, Minnesota has been good this year, but there's also been the distraction with this Dalvin Cook thing where...
Yeah, that's weird.
His girlfriend pressed charges against him, and then he said he was abused. So now there's all that.
There's a video
bouncing around. There's a video. It's just, it's crazy. I don't like to give that kind of stuff too much time on this show. If you haven't noticed with Henry Ruggs and that type of shit, but it'll work itself out in the wash, and when it does, we'll cover it. Until then, let other people talk about it. I don't give a fuck. But when it comes to this game, like I said, I thought the Eagles would keep it close because they could run the ball, and the Chargers give up a ton of yards on the ground. The Chargers gave up a ton of yards on the ground. It allowed Jalen Hurts to, work off play action and make some plays downfield and get some guys open. I think the same thing could happen for Minnesota, but I think they're in the same boat as Philadelphia. I just, as good as they can run it, as good as Kirk Cousins is, as good as the receiving core is, they don't have enough. This is going to be another one of those close losses for the Vikings. Their fans are going to lose their fucking minds, and I feel for you because I was there last week, so I understand.
Yeah.
But what happened to us as Eagles fans, you're about to experience that too. You just had it first.
Yep.
I am going to say the Chargers win, and I'm going to say 34-31.
Damn, you think it's going to be that? You think it's going to be that competitive?
I think it's going to be just like the Eagles game. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to the last minute, and you're going to get another field goal from because now the Chargers found somebody that can kick a field goal, Dustin Hopkins. So if this were if this were a few weeks ago and they still had that whatever his name was Vizcaino kid, he'd have probably missed that field goal and the game would have gone into overtime. You don't know. Maybe the Eagles would have pulled it out.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to have the same scenario as the Eagles game. It's going to be part 2.
Yeah.
Starring the Vikings this week.
Yeah. I think it's going to be competitive, so I'm going to go 27-17.
Okay. Cool. And speaking of Philadelphia, they're next up on the rundown. After the close loss to the Chargers, the Eagles now have to travel to Mile High Stadium and play a Broncos team that just beat the brakes off the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And this is a tough one. I am very impressed that the Eagles decided to run the ball. I am impressed with the success. I was impressed with Jalen Hurts last week. But is that enough to counter how impressed I was with the Broncos in Dallas? Like,
yeah. Well, I look at it this way. I think the Cowboys lost that game. You know, I just the Broncos, they look good. Yeah, they scored 30 points. That's impressive with any team, from the Jets to the top to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Niners to the Rams. If you score 30 points, that's impressive. So I see where you're coming from, but the Cowboys just never got it going. They couldn't click. They couldn't do what they needed to do.
Right.
So I'm doing it. Hometown boy, I'm picking the Eagles.
Wow.
The Birds.
The Birds.
Come on, you got it. Come on. I know you want to.
I really want to, but the reason that the Cowboys could never get anything going was, despite losing Von Miller, that Broncos defense got after Dak Prescott. They had him flustered. They had him moving around the pocket, throwing under pressure, doing all those things. These are all things that Jalen Hurts doesn't exactly do well. Like, Dak Prescott is a lot better on the run and under pressure than Jalen Hurts is. And he has a lot more weapons than Jalen Hurts does.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and knowing that the Eagles have to travel to Denver for this game, because remember, Denver went to Dallas and did this. So if they get to go home and sit back, relax, bring a team in, and
smoke that Colorado weed,
right? With all that momentum coming off the Cowboys game, I think it just carries over into this one.
Come on.
So
don't do it. Don't come on.
I gotta do it.
You bleed green.
I do. And my heart is breaking right now saying it, but I gotta go with the Broncos. I just do.
What's this?
Well, I don't even have to give a score because I picked a different team. That might be the first game we disagreed on the entire night.
Breaking news. We disagreed.
Wow. Breaking freaking story. Okay, so another team that we brought up on the hot seat was Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
They have a semi-interesting game where they're going to Lambeau to take on the Packers.
Yeah.
But they're taking on the Aaron Rodgers-less Packers because he will miss a second game due to all this COVID nonsense.
Is that true? Is that like legit?
As far as I know, yeah. I mean, he claimed not that he was vaccinated, but that he was immunized. And he walked around and followed protocols as if he were vaccinated. He is not. So therefore, he has to miss 10 days and come back with a negative test or 2 negative tests in 24 hours, or he can't play. So that would take him out of not only last week's game, but this one too.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a mess. And
not good for my fantasy team.
And I know the league went about saying, because we talked about this before we started recording. Yeah. The league went into saying that, they don't take these protocols lightly, and there are going to be consequences for him and the franchise and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it finally all came down, the Packers as an organization were fined $300,000.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard were both fined $14,000 apiece. I think the only one this might hurt is Alan Lazard because he's not a big money guy.
Yeah.
Outside of that, this is like if Nick or myself walked into our job late and our boss said, "I'm fining you $25." That's pretty much it. Like, oh, no problem. Here you go, homie. I'm gonna go do my job now. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's the end of that. So maybe if you're gonna come out and talk this talk, you might want to walk the walk.
Yep.
Because even $300,000 to an NFL franchise. I mean, what the fuck is an NFL franchise worth? A few $1 billion?
Stupid.
You find them $300,000. That's not even a game. They'll make they'll make that back in the stands at Lambeau this Sunday easily. So get the fuck out of here with this. Oh, there's going to be consequences and repercussions type of bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I had to get that off my chest. Do you have anything to add to that, or
no?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I just think It's idiotic.
Just needed to go on a slight. It really is. I just had to go on a slight psycho rant. I apologize, guys.
Hey.
Back to the matter at hand. So while Aaron Rodgers is going to be missing from this game, from all reports, there are just as many reports saying Russell Wilson is most likely going to play in this game in Lambeau. He's back. He's practicing. He looks great. We've seen video of him throwing and doing all this stuff, and the hand looks completely recovered. So while we're probably going to have Russell Wilson, we will not be having any of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That being said, does Green Bay have enough to beat Seattle anyway?
Well, it really depends on Wilson, honestly. That's it. For me, that's it. I think if Wilson is in the game and he's, able to play, I think they're going to beat the Packers. But if he's not, it's going to be a competitive game because it's two nobodies, I know Geno Smith, he's not a nobody, but when it comes to, comparing him to Rodgers or Wilson, it's like, no. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think? What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm looking at this game the same way I'm looking at like the Panthers versus the Cardinals, where I'm looking at the matchups. Like if you said Russell Wilson versus Jordan Love, I'm taking Russell Wilson all day.
Yeah.
If you said Geno Smith versus Jordan Love, after what I saw last week against the Chiefs defense, that is not good. No. Just not fucking good. And I know Seattle's isn't much better. They might not even be. Yeah. But
at least he's a veteran.
If he performed that way against the Chiefs, how much better is he going to do against the Seahawks? So if you're saying either one of these guys versus Jordan Love, from what I've seen, and I know it's a small sample size, I would lean towards either one of the Seattle quarterbacks, whether it be Russell Wilson or Geno Smith.
Yeah,
because Geno actually played pretty damn well in every game that he played in.
Yeah,
but they couldn't stop anybody defensively, and they couldn't run the ball, which is what Russell Wilson's been complaining about now for 2 years.
Yeah.
So, he basically did the same thing Russell Wilson did, just not at the same level.
Yeah.
And I think regardless, that's enough to beat the Packers in Lambeau right now.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, too. I mean, regardless of who is the quarterback, I think Seattle has it here.
I mean, if it's Russell Wilson, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But even if it's Geno Smith, I still think they got this.
Yeah. I changed my mind. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're both taking the Seahawks. I'll go to you first. What do you got for a score in this game?
I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I just don't, even with Wilson, he's back. He's still, injury prone. So I'm going to go 17-13.
Okay. I don't think it'll be, even if Wilson comes back, he still hasn't been on the field for a while.
Yeah.
He's going to have to work through that rust. I mean, you saw a little bit of it with Tyrod Taylor and the Texans. He missed multiple weeks. He came back. He just didn't look like he was all there yet. And sometimes it takes a minute. So I'll say it's a close, low-scoring game. I'm going to say 20-7.
Yeah.
Seattle. And then our Sunday night football game is a division rival with honestly two of the best quarterbacks in the division in the NFL, but both of them have had their share of struggles. We've got Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs coming off that win we talked about against Green Bay, going up against Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders coming back home after losing to the Giants in the Meadowlands. That was another one of those any given Sunday games. Another one of those upsets in week 9 that you just went, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But like new week, new matchup. Raiders are home. Who you got in this one, Nick?
They play every year they play so competitive, and I know they play a couple games a year. Jacob looks good. Drake looks good. Carr looks good. I know Deshaun is, he's a veteran, he's old, but I think that helps with the locker room. I think that gives them something that they missed, last week. They lost. Let's be real. They lost to the Giants. Like that's a big no-no for a team who is playing really well, who has the keys to win the game, who understands the concept of winning. They fought through adversity with Ruggs. They fought through adversity. They fought through adversity with Gruden. I think this is the year for the Raiders to kick some ass. So I got the Raiders here.
Yeah. This is a tough game because the Raiders have fought through so much this season. I mean, even just this week after the Henry Ruggs thing, they cut their first-round draft pick from 2020, Desmond Arnett, after he put out a video where he was toting a gun and threatening people online. So, like, this saga does not end for the Las Vegas Raiders.
No.
I don't know what the fuck is. Maybe it's just a move to Vegas. They're partying too hard. I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But it's been a roller coaster all year long for him. I know they signed Deshaun Jackson. I do not know if he's available this week or not.
Yeah.
Because he got in late in the week.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Kinda
many
like
practices he's going to get in. Yeah. It's like there's little to no chance that you get Odell Beckham with the Rams this week, even though they're on Monday Night Football. Like just because they signed him on Thursday. So it's tough to acclimate him into the offense in a couple of days. But it's as tough to get Deshaun Jackson ready for this game. So his status is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Raiders have been all over the place this season. And I do feel for him a little bit. But I feel like this is kind of the game where Kansas City can come in and catch these guys in a bad situation. Like you're having another off-field distraction again to pile on top of all the rest. You're coming off a loss. We're just going to come in and make things worse for you.
Yeah.
So I think by the time this is over, both teams end up 5-4. Like Kansas City gets the win. They're both 5-4. They play each other again. And I think the next time that these two teams play each other, it might be winner goes to the playoffs, loser goes home.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do. That's the second game we disagree on. There's only one left, folks. So we get to Monday night, and like I said, the LA Rams have to go into Levi Stadium to take on a San Francisco 49er team that, safe to say, they struggled a little bit against an ailing Cardinals squad.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, just a smidge.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're not certain that Odell Beckham will play this week. Vaughn Miller will. He did not play against Tennessee, but he will be playing against San Francisco.
Well, just like the Raiders too. I know Deshaun's probably not going to play, but that media, that attention, they're changing things. They're looking to the future, even though he's a veteran. But you get what I'm saying. It's positive news that they need, and Odell the
Raiders are doing everything they can to hang on through all this shit. It's just like we're still winning. We're still trying to regroup. We have an interim head coach. We're losing players left and right. Yeah. There's all this shit going on, but we're still fighting.
Yeah.
And that's respectable. I mean, the Rams are a different story. They really haven't had a whole lot, go wrong for them outside of last week. Last week went wrong and went wrong in a hurry.
And that's going to happen.
And it'll happen. It happened to him with Arizona as well. And then the following week, they bounced back and they look great and they got a big win. I got to think it's going to happen again. I mean, it's nothing against the 49ers, but they were as healthy as they could possibly be, playing a Cardinals team that was as injured as it could possibly be. Yeah. Not only did they get beat, they got beat pretty badly.
Yeah. Well, a good team like this, who they lost to the Titans last week. A good team like this does not look at an L and say, shit, what are we going to do? They're going to walk
like, what do we do
in.
now?
They're going to walk in and kick ass. It's going to be, for me, I think it's going to be a blowout. It's the battle of LA, but still, it's like the Rams, they're going to win. They're trying to win now.
And I know you look at the Rams and you say, well, it's only one loss. Well, that one loss dropped them from, what was the division lead to now the 5 seed in the playoffs, even though they've only lost twice all year because Arizona's only lost once.
Yeah.
So immediately Arizona's the number 1 seed in the NFC, and then the Rams fall all those spots.
Yeah. What do you got?
It's a tough pill to swallow. I think they bounce back this week against the Niners, and I'm almost wondering the way things have been going the last few years. Like, I know the Super Bowl appearance, but is Kyle Shanahan going to end up on the hot seat?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, obviously they're still figuring out who their quarterback is. They've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
It's understandable, but if things keep going this way, and they don't look competitive, stands to wonder. I'm just saying.
No, but I think it makes a lot of sense to look at it. You got to reevaluate,
Yeah, exactly. And with this game, I see the Rams winning, and
let's hear it.
I'm going to say 28-14.
Wow. Okay. I see you. I got 30. I got 34-16.
Okay, close enough. Yeah, like it's just been another rough year for the 49ers. I mean, you always get that, hey, the team that doesn't win the Super Bowl sucks the following season. That happens a lot. The Niners were an example of it. Hey, the Chiefs are kind of an example of it this year when you look at them. Like, they're struggling harder than they have in a long time after losing that Super Bowl to the Bucs last year.
Yeah.
So you can kind of give them that one season, but then, the next season comes around, and now the 49ers are struggling again, and you're like, what for? Like, the talent is there. When you look at the roster, the talent is there on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Why are we currently sitting at, what was it, 3-6? 3-5. If the talent is there.
That's why you got to look at the coach. So you might have a really good, valid point there, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, even go back to the picks, looking at the coach. Sean McVay is 4-1 with the Rams on Monday Night Football. So there's that too.
Yeah.
But it looks rough in San Francisco, at least for Kyle Shanahan. If he doesn't manage to turn this around, I don't know if I don't know. Like, if they end up 3-14 this year with that team,
That's bad. Yeah.
And
it could happen. He
gone. He gone. Fuck it.
Absolutely.
Out, Kyle.
Yep. Because it's just, as much as this sounds political, the NFL wants the California teams to succeed more than they want other teams. And that take it or leave it, but that's the truth.
No, that's true. I mean, it's why they have 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Or at least, I know San Diego was one too, but they're like, hey, we're going to move you to LA as well. We want bigger markets. We want more revenue. We want, whatever.
Yeah.
And they want these teams to be successful. That's why California has had 3 teams for the longest time.
Yeah.
And if the Niners continue to struggle, like, I could definitely see them not being 3-14, but if they have another losing season, I don't know. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan sticks around.
Hey, I think it's going to be surprising. I think he's going to be on the hot seat. I think technically he's on the hot seat now, to be honest.
And just looking at my picks, I'm still kind of mad at myself for picking Denver, but I'm going to stick with it.
Good. I hope you lose sleep tonight.
It's going to be like the Chargers game. I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think I am.
Yeah.
The fan of me is screaming, "Psycho, you're dead wrong." But then my brain is going, "Nah, no, you're not."
Yeah. Could happen.
Yeah, it could. I just the whole 49ers thing, that's going to be another thing to kind of watch play out over the season. Just keep an eye on some of these coaches, because you never know.
Yeah.
Especially, now that teams can start talking to coaching candidates like the last 2 weeks of the regular season, which they didn't typically do until like playoffs, Pro Bowl, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It might make some of these teams go, you know what, we're out of it. Fuck it. Get rid of this coach and let's start talking to candidates. Like, let's just get the process going now.
Yeah.
Forget it. Like Matt Nagy, get the fuck out of here. Pete Carroll, you gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan, really? Another losing season? Get out.
Yeah.
But outside of that, that's pretty much all we got this week, folks. So we're gonna wrap things up here. Again, thank you, Nikki, for showing up.
Absolutely, man.
Hopefully, we'll get Devin back on here one of these weeks.
Come on, Devin. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know if we can both make it, but I will give him a little plug because he invited us to do a live watch along for AEW Full Gear on Saturday. I'm gonna do my damnedest to show up because that should be, just not football related. Go to another sport because that's what it is. That should be a hell of a show. So I may sit back and just react and laugh with him. It should be good whether I'm there or not. So y'all need to check that out. And I'm gonna give Nick the opportunity to tell you where you can find him and now his solo show.
Yes, sir. It's just me now. So it is the Universal Wrestling Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at the UW Pod and Instagram at UW Podcast. And we have a website. Check us out, uwpod.com. A lot of good content. Nothing's going to stop. Nothing's going to change. We're going to keep doing our thing. So, Dom, again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. The pleasure is mine. Like, I love having you back every week, and hopefully we'll get a few more guys in. We'll have a little bit more fun. I'm even thinking of doing this live every now and then so we can get some people involved, have them ask us some questions and just go from there. There's a lot of, I know I haven't said it this week and I say it a lot. There's a lot of potential with this show.
Yeah.
If you were waiting for it, drink now.
Yeah. Hold on. Give me a second.
Oh, there he goes. See? On cue. That's why we love him. And as far as this show goes, I know. I keep saying that I'm going to make a website so you can catch this show and everything that we got going on. And then things get backed up or I end up with COVID and it never happens. So I'm still working on that. In the meantime, come and find us on YouTube at TRWT parentheses a Fox Den John. It's where you can catch episodes of this show as well as the flagship show Top Rope Wrestling Talk, which will hit 2 years next week. I'm very excited for that. We will also, by the time you guys see this, we will probably have been back live Friday, so there's no point in going into that. But you can also, for this show, follow if you have any questions, if you want me to talk about something with my boy Nick or whoever on this show, just come follow me on Twitter at @S_Philly Psycho. Ask your questions, leave your comment, do whatever you want to do, and maybe I'll bring it on here, and whatever you ask, we'll chop it up. You can find the audio podcast for this show at anchor.fm/FoxDen, one word. And we got a lot of Top Rope stuff. I'll save that for Top Rope. I'm probably going to have to do it tomorrow anyway, so for everybody out there, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us this far. Thank you for, just showing us some love on YouTube and on social media. I love seeing all the comments come up. We've got guys playing along with our picks, and always feel free to do that in the comments below. If you get, if you have different picks than us or whatever, feel free to put them in the comments. Feel free to have fun with us, and good luck to you this week. I hope your team, whether it be fantasy or in real life, wins. And if you don't, there's still at least 6 or 7 more weeks of this shit. So just don't lose your head. Come back next week. We will see you then. Until then, peace.
Peace.